I am Jake, 31 years old. For my entire life, my father told me that success was measurable, that you could tell who mattered by looking at their bank account, their job title, their car. My mother, Patricia, always said that hard work was what separated winners from losers. My older brother, Derek, was their proof of concept. Harvard MBA, vice president at Goldman Sachs by 30, penthouse in Manhattan, Tesla in the garage. He was everything they wanted in a son. But the worst humiliation didn't come from a stranger or a competitor. It came from them, from my own family on New Year's Eve 2 years ago. I was sitting in my tiny studio apartment in Brooklyn, eating leftover Chinese food, when my phone rang. It was my mother. Jake, honey, we need to talk about tomorrow night. Tomorrow was New Year's Eve, my family's annual celebration at my parents' estate in Connecticut. Black tie, champagne, the whole production. It was the one night a year when the whole family gathered. My brother Derek with his fiancée Madison, my sister Vanessa with her husband Craig, all the cousins, the aunts and uncles, everyone who mattered in the family. What about it? I asked. Well, my mother said carefully, your father and I have been discussing it, and we think it might be better if you sat this one out this year. I stopped mid-bite. What? It's just that Derek is bringing some very important clients, partners from his firm, people who could really help his career, and Vanessa's husband is trying to make partner at his law firm. There will be a lot of influential people there. And honey, you're still working at that little startup. You're still living in that tiny apartment. You're still driving that old Honda. We just think it might be awkward for you. You know how these things are. People talk. They compare. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable. You're uninviting me to New Year's Eve because I'm not successful enough? We're not uninviting you, sweetie. We're just suggesting that maybe you'd be more comfortable sitting this one out. Just until you get back on your feet, until you have something to show for yourself. My father's voice came on the line. They had me on speakerphone. Son, let me be frank. You're 31 years old. You've been working at this tech startup for 3 years with nothing to show for it. You make, what, $60,000 a year? You live in a shoebox. You drive a car from 2010. Meanwhile, your brother is closing million-dollar deals. Your sister married a man on partner track. You're embarrassing, Jake. You're the family failure, and frankly, we don't want to explain you to Derek's clients. I felt my throat tighten. I'm your son. You're a disappointment, my father said flatly. And until you turn your life around, until you have something worth bragging about, we'd prefer you stayed away from family events. It's not personal. It's just facts. Winners surround themselves with winners, and right now, you're not winning. My mother jumped in, her voice gentler, but no less cutting. We love you, honey. But love doesn't mean we have to pretend you're something you're not. Come back when you have a real job, a real apartment, a real life. Then you'll be welcome at our celebrations, okay? Mom, we have to go, sweetheart. We have a lot to prepare for tomorrow. Have a nice New Year's, and we'll see you when things turn around for you. They hung up. I sat there in my studio apartment, the silence pressing down on me like a weight. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. Sorry, bro. Dad told me what happened. Don't take it personally. They just want what's best for the family image. You understand? I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because here's what they didn't know. Here's what none of them knew. The little startup I'd been working at for 3 years, it was called NexGen AI. And tomorrow, January 1st, we were going public. Our IPO had been in the works for 8 months under strict NDA. I owned 8% of the company as an early employee and lead engineer. The opening share price was projected at $78 per share. We had 500 million shares outstanding. I did the math again just to make sure I wasn't dreaming. 8% of 500 million shares was 40 million shares. At $78 per share, my stake would be worth $3.12 billion. Not million, billion. With a B? In less than 24 hours, I would become a billionaire. And my family, the people who just uninvited me to New Year's Eve, because I was an embarrassment had no idea. They had no idea that the son they dismissed, the brother they pitied, the family member they hid from their important guests, was about to become wealthier than all of them combined. They had no idea that their net worth, probably around $15 million total, would look like pocket change compared to mine. They had no idea that by the time they were popping champagne at midnight to celebrate another year of their perceived superiority, I would be fielding calls from investment banks, lawyers, and financial advisors trying to manage the sudden wealth that just appeared in my portfolio. And they definitely had no idea that the day would come very soon when they would see my face on the cover of Forbes, read about me in TechCrunch, and realize exactly what they had done, exactly who they had dismissed, exactly how wrong they had been. I looked around my tiny studio apartment, 400 square feet, futon that doubled as my couch, desk from IKEA, my 2010 Honda Civic parked on the street. This was the last night I would be the family failure. Tomorrow, everything would change, and I couldn't wait to see their faces when they realized it. New Year's Day, 8 a.m. My phone started ringing. I had slept maybe 2 hours, too wired with anticipation to rest. The caller ID showed Marcus Reed, CFO NexGen AI. "Jake, you watching?" Marcus asked. "I'm watching." I had my laptop open to the NASDAQ trading page. NexGen AI ticker symbol, NXGN. Opening bell was in 30 minutes. "You ready for this?" Marcus asked. "The pre-market indicators are insane. We might open higher than projected." "How much higher?" "Somewhere around $95 a share. Maybe more." I did the math. 40 million shares at $95 meant $3.8 billion. I sat down on my futon, my legs suddenly weak. "Jake, you still there?" "Yeah, sorry, just processing." "Listen, once this goes live, your life is going to change immediately. You need to be ready. The media will find you. Your phone is going to explode. Every wealth management firm in the country is going to be calling. You need to get to the office. We have security ready, lawyers ready. The PR team wants to brief you on what to say and what not to say. I'll be there in an hour." I hung up and stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. I looked the same. Same messy brown hair, same stubble I hadn't bothered to shave, same worn t-shirt from a tech conference 3 years ago. But in less than an hour, I would be a billionaire. The market opened at 9:30 a.m. I watched from my laptop as the first trades went through. $98 per share, then $102, then $108. The stock was surging, fueled by massive demand. Every tech investor in the world wanted a piece of NexGen AI. We had developed a proprietary artificial intelligence system that could predict market trends with unprecedented accuracy. Every major hedge fund, investment bank, and trading firm wanted access. By 10 a.m., the stock had settled at $150 per share. My stake was now worth $4.6 billion. I was officially a billionaire multiple times over. My phone started buzzing, text after text, email after email. But none from my family. They didn't know yet. I drove to the NexGen office in Manhattan, my old Honda struggling through traffic, and I laughed at the absurdity. A billionaire in a beat-up Civic. When I arrived, there were reporters outside. Security hustled me through a side entrance. Marcus met me in the lobby, grinning like a maniac. "Congratulations, Jake. You're officially stupid rich." "It doesn't feel real." "It will. Trust me. Come on, the team is waiting." The conference room was full. Our CEO, Rachel Zhang, our CTO, David Park. All the early employees who had taken a chance on this crazy startup 3 years ago. Everyone was crying, hugging, celebrating. We had done it. We had built something that changed everything. Rachel pulled me aside. "Jake, I need to tell you something. Forbes is running a story tomorrow. They're calling you one of the youngest self-made billionaires in tech. They want an interview. TechCrunch is writing about the IPO. Bloomberg is asking for a profile. You're about to become very, very public." I never wanted to be public. "I know, but that's not how this works. You're a billionaire now. That comes with attention. Are you ready for that?" I thought about my father's words. "You're embarrassing, Jake. You're the family failure." I thought about my mother telling me to stay home from New Year's Eve until I had something worth bragging about. I thought about Derek's pitying text message. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. By 2 p.m., the news was everywhere. NexGen AI IPO soars, creating multiple new billionaires. My name was in the articles, my age, my role in the company, my stake value. The media was calling me the quiet genius behind NexGen's revolutionary AI. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Jake Harrison? Yes. This is Tom Martinez from Forbes. Congratulations on the IPO. We're running a cover story on young tech billionaires next month, and we'd love to feature you. Would you be available for an interview and photo shoot? I'll have my people get back to you. My people. I had people now. Lawyers, accountants, PR team. One more thing, Tom said. We're doing a net worth ranking. Based on your shares at current prices, you're looking at roughly $4.6 billion. That makes you the 487th richest person in the world. How does that feel? Surreal. After I hung up, I just sat in my office. The 487th richest person in the world. 24 hours ago, my family uninvited me from New Year's Eve because I was an embarrassment. Now I was on the Forbes billionaire list. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Dude, WTF? I just saw the news. Is this real? You're a billionaire? I didn't respond. Not yet. I wanted to wait. I wanted them to fully process what they'd done, what they'd said to me, who they'd dismissed. At 6 p.m., my father called. I let it go to voicemail. Then my mother called. Voicemail. Derek called again. Voicemail. Vanessa called. My uncle called. My cousin called. Everyone who had been at that New Year's Eve party, celebrating without me, suddenly wanted to talk. I listened to the voicemails one by one. My father. Son, I just saw the news. Call me back immediately. We need to discuss this. My mother. Jake, honey, I'm so proud of you. I always knew you had it in you. Call me back. Let's celebrate. Derek. Bro, this is insane. I can't believe you didn't tell me. Call me. I want to hear everything. Also, some of my clients are interested in investing with you. We should talk. Vanessa. Jake, oh my God, Mom just told me. You're a billionaire. I'm so happy for you. We need to get together. I have so many questions. Every single message had the same energy. Excitement, pride, sudden interest in my life. Not one of them mentioned what they'd said to me 36 hours ago. Not one of them acknowledged that they'd uninvited me from the family celebration because I wasn't successful enough. Not one of them apologized. At 8 p.m., Marcus knocked on my office door. You doing okay? Yeah, just processing. Your family reaching out? How'd you know? Because that's what always happens. People who ignored you suddenly want to be your best friend. People who dismissed you suddenly think you're a genius. It's gross, but it's predictable. What should I do? Marcus shrugged. That's up to you, but Jake, let me tell you something. You earned this. You worked 80-hour weeks for 3 years. You solved problems nobody else could solve. You built the core algorithm that made this company worth billions. You did this, not them. They don't get to show up now and act like they always believed in you. Remember that. I nodded. Thanks, Marcus. That night, I went back to my studio apartment. I could afford a penthouse now, a mansion, anything I wanted. But I wasn't ready to leave yet. This apartment represented something. The place where I lived when I wasn't good enough for my family. The place where I got the call uninviting me from New Year's. The place where I became a billionaire while everyone else was celebrating without me. I ordered pizza, sat on my futon, and opened my laptop. I Googled my own name. Hundreds of articles. Photos of me from the company website. Speculation about what I'd do with the money. Analysis of my contributions to NexGen. And then I saw it. An article from Page 6, the gossip column. Billionaire snubbed by family hours before IPO. Someone had leaked the story. Probably someone at my parents' New Year's party who overheard the conversation. The article detailed how my family had uninvited me from their celebration because I was unsuccessful and embarrassing, only for me to become a billionaire less than 24 hours later. The article called my family short-sighted and materialistic. It called me the ultimate comeback story. My phone exploded again. More calls from family. This time, the voicemails were different. My father. Jake, there's an article going around. It's not accurate. We didn't uninvite you. There was a misunderstanding. Call me back. We need to do damage control. My mother. Honey, someone is spreading lies about us. About New Year's Eve. You need to tell people that we've always supported you. This is making us look terrible. Derek. Bro. This article is making Dad look like an asshole. You need to make a statement. Say it was taken out of context or something. I smiled. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry it went public. They weren't ashamed of how they treated me. They were ashamed of how it made them look. That was all I needed to know. I turned off my phone and went to sleep. Tomorrow I would figure out what came next, but tonight I just wanted to sit with this feeling. The feeling of being right, of being vindicated, of knowing that every person who doubted me, dismissed me, or counted me out had been proven spectacularly wrong. My mind drifted back to 15 years earlier. I was 16, my brother Derek was 20, already at Harvard undergrad. It was Thanksgiving, and the house smelled like turkey and my mother's famous stuffing. The dining room table was set with the good china, the crystal glasses, the silver candlesticks. My father sat at the head of the table, holding court like he always did. My mother fluttered around, serving food, making sure everyone was happy. Derek was home from Harvard for the holiday, and he was the star of the show as always. Tell everyone about your internship, Derek, my father said proudly. Derek smiled, that confident smile he'd perfected by age 12. I got a summer position at McKinsey. It's super competitive. Only 10 undergrads in the country get it. The partner who interviewed me said I was one of the most impressive candidates he'd ever met. The table erupted in congratulations. My uncle toasted Derek. My aunt asked 1,000 questions. Vanessa, 17 at the time, looked at Derek with obvious admiration. You're so lucky, Derek. You always get the best opportunities. It's not luck, my father corrected. It's hard work and intelligence. Derek has both in spades. Then my father turned to me. Jake, what about you? You're a junior now? Have you thought about college? Yeah, I said. I'm thinking about MIT or Carnegie Mellon. For computer science. My father's expression soured. Computer science? That's very narrow, son. You should think about business, economics, something that leads to real power. Computer science is real, I said. Dad, technology is changing everything. AI, machine learning, it's going to transform every industry. That's tech bro nonsense, my father interrupted. Real power comes from understanding business, finance, markets. Computers are tools. They're for the worker bees, not the leaders. You want to be a cog in a machine, or do you want to run the machine? I want to build the machine, I said quietly. My uncle laughed. Kid's got ambition. I'll give him that. My father didn't laugh. Jake, let me be clear. I'm not paying for MIT or Carnegie Mellon for a computer science degree. If you want me to fund your education, you'll major in business or economics at a respectable school. If you insist on this tech obsession, you're on your own. I felt my stomach drop. You're serious? Completely. Derek understood this. He's studying economics at Harvard. He'll have his pick of Wall Street firms when he graduates. That's success. Building apps or whatever you think you'll do, that's a hobby, not a career. Bill Gates built Microsoft. Steve Jobs built Apple. Mark Zuckerberg. Those are outliers, my father said dismissively. 1 in a million. You're not Mark Zuckerberg's son. You're a smart kid, but you're not a genius. You need a stable career path. That means business school. My mother put her hand on my arm. Honey, your father just wants what's best for you. Computer science is fine as a hobby, but wouldn't you feel more secure with a business degree? Look at how well Derek is doing. Derek is doing well because you funded his Harvard education, I said, my voice rising. If you gave me the same support for MIT costs $60,000 a year, my father said. I'm not spending $240,000 on a degree that leads to a $50,000 a year coding job. That's a terrible return on investment. What if I get scholarships? Then do it, my father said. If you can get a full ride to MIT, go for it. But I'm not contributing a dime unless you major in something worthwhile. The table was silent. Everyone was looking at their plates, pretending to be very interested in the turkey. You paid for Derek's Harvard, I said quietly. Every penny, plus his apartment, plus his living expenses. You're paying for Vanessa's college next year. Why is mine conditional? Because Derek proved himself, my father said. He got into Harvard on merit. He's getting internships at top firms on merit. He's showing me that my investment will pay off. You, on the other hand, want me to gamble on a tech degree with no proven track record. That's not how smart money works. I'm your son, not an investment portfolio. You're both, my father said flatly. And right now you're a risky bet. I stood up from the table. Can I be excused? Sit down, my mother said. We're not done with dinner. I'm done. I went upstairs to my room and locked the door. I could hear them talking downstairs, voices rising and falling. I heard my father say something about tough love and teaching him reality. I heard Derek defend me, sort of, saying, Jake's pretty smart with computers. Maybe we should give him a chance. But nobody came upstairs. Nobody knocked on my door. Nobody apologized. I went to the bathroom down the hall and stared at myself in the mirror. 16 years old, scrawny glasses. The kid who spent his free time coding instead of playing sports or chasing girls. The kid who couldn't measure up to his Harvard-bound brother. The kid whose father saw him as a risky investment. You're going to prove him wrong, I whispered to my reflection. You're going to build something so big, so successful, that he'll regret every word he said tonight. But then another voice crept in, quieter and meaner. What if he's right? What if you're not special? What if computer science is just a hobby, and you're wasting your time? I went back to my room and pulled out my acceptance letter from a summer coding camp at Stanford. It was selective, competitive, and I'd gotten in on merit. I had been so excited to go, to spend 6 weeks learning from the best. But it cost $8,000. I had asked my parents to help pay for it, and they'd said no. That's too expensive for a summer camp, my mother had said. Besides, you should get a real job. Derek worked construction his first summer. It built character. Derek's construction job had been arranged by my father's friend. Derek made $20 an hour doing basic labor, came home tan and tired, and got praised for his work ethic. I wanted to spend my summer learning advanced algorithms at Stanford. But that wasn't building character. That was indulgence. So I spent that summer mowing lawns and washing cars, saving every dollar to pay my own way to the coding camp the next year. I earned $4,200 over 3 months. Not enough. I didn't get to go. The pattern continued for 2 more years. Derek graduated from Harvard with honors, got a job at Goldman Sachs, moved into a nice apartment that my parents helped furnish. I applied to MIT, got accepted, got some scholarships, but not a full ride. I needed $25,000 a year to cover the gap. I asked my parents. My father said, I told you my terms. Business degree, I'll pay. Tech degree, you're on your own. I took out student loans. I worked part-time through college. I graduated from MIT with $85,000 in debt, while Derek graduated from Harvard with 0 debt and a signing bonus at Goldman. My father bragged about Derek at every family gathering. My son, the investment banker, making 6 figures at 22. That's real success. When I got my first job out of MIT, a software engineering position at a mid-sized tech company, making $75,000, my father's reaction was, that's nice. Your son, when are you going to get a real job? This is a real job, Dad. Derek's making $250,000 a year now. That's a real job. You're making pocket change. 3 years later, I left that mid-sized company to join NexGen AI. It was a startup. Risky. The salary was $60,000 plus equity. My father lost his mind. You're taking a pay cut to join a startup? Jake, that's insane. Do you know how many startups fail? You're throwing away a stable career for lottery tickets. It's not lottery tickets. It's equity in a company that's building something revolutionary. It's a gamble, he said, and you're not smart enough to win gambles. Those words. You're not smart enough to win gambles. I remember them every day for the next 3 years. Every 80-hour work week. Every sleepless night debugging code. Every moment of doubt when I wondered if my father was right, if I was delusional, if I was wasting my life on a dream that would never materialize. And now, 15 years after that Thanksgiving dinner, I had won the gamble. I had become a billionaire. I had proven him wrong in the most spectacular way possible. But it didn't feel like I thought it would. It didn't feel triumphant. It felt empty. Because I realized something sitting in my tiny studio apartment, now a billionaire in a 400 square foot space. I had spent 15 years trying to prove my worth to a man who would never see it. I had built an empire to earn approval from someone who was constitutionally incapable of giving it. And even now, with $4.6 billion to my name, even now with my face on magazine covers, even now with the world calling me a genius, I still heard that voice. You're not smart enough to win gambles. This is the moment where I felt something break inside me. If you are listening to this, and you have ever been the one who was told you weren't worth the investment, the one whose dreams were dismissed as hobbies, while someone else got championed, I need you to know, you are not alone. Please hit that like button right now to show we are stronger than their doubt. And in the comments, I want you to simply write, I am worthy. Let's create a wall of support for everyone who has ever been called a risky bet by the people who were supposed to believe in them. The week after the IPO was chaos. My face was everywhere. Forbes, TechCrunch, Bloomberg, CNBC. The quiet billionaire. From student debt to $4.6 billion, Jake Harrison's incredible rise. The genius behind NexGen AI. My inbox was flooded with interview requests, investment opportunities, and people I hadn't heard from in years, suddenly wanting to catch up. I hired a personal assistant, Claire, a sharp woman in her 40s who had worked for tech executives before. Her first task was managing my family. They're calling 20 times a day, Claire said. Your father, your mother, your brother, your sister. They all want meetings. They all say it's urgent. What do you want me to tell them? Tell them I'm unavailable. For how long? Until I decide otherwise. I moved out of my studio apartment into a temporary furnished rental in Tribeca while I figured out what I actually wanted. The real estate agents were showing me penthouses, brownstones, estates in the Hamptons. Everything felt wrong, too big, too ostentatious, too much like I was trying to prove something. What I actually wanted was time to process what had happened, time to figure out who I was now that money wasn't a constraint, time to decide what to do about my family. 2 weeks after the IPO, Derek showed up at the NexGen office. Security called up. Mr. Harrison, your brother's here. He doesn't have an appointment. Should we send him away? I almost said yes. Then I thought better of it. Send him up. Derek walked into my office looking uncomfortable. He was wearing his Goldman Sachs power suit, but he seemed smaller somehow, less confident. Jake, man, you're hard to reach. I've been busy. I can imagine. This place is incredible. I saw the Bloomberg terminal in the lobby. You guys are trading at $127 a share now. That's insane. What do you want, Derek? He sat down without being invited. I want to apologize. For New Year's Eve. For what Mom and Dad said to you. That was messed up. You agreed with them. You sent me a text saying I should understand about family image. He winced. I know. I was wrong. I didn't realize how bad it sounded until I saw it in writing. Jake, I'm sorry. Really. Are you sorry for what happened, or sorry it went public? He was quiet for a moment. Both, if I'm being honest. Look, I know how this looks. I know you think we're all just coming around because you're rich now. And yeah, that's part of it. But Jake, we're still family. We're still brothers. That has to count for something. Does it? Because from where I'm sitting, you only became my brother again after you saw my net worth. That's not fair. You've always what? Believed in me? Supported me? Derek, you got a full ride through Harvard, funded by Dad. I got student loans and a lecture about bad investments. You got your apartment furnished by mom and dad. I got a futon from Craigslist. You got praise for making $250,000 a year. I got dismissed for making $60,000. Where was the brotherhood then? Derek looked at his hands. You're right. You're absolutely right. Dad always favored me. I knew it. I benefited from it. And I should have stood up for you. I should have told him he was wrong about you. I didn't. I'm sorry. Why didn't you? He looked up, and for the first time, I saw something genuine in his face. Shame. Because I was scared. Because if I defended you, Dad might start questioning me too. His approval was addictive, Jake. I couldn't risk losing it. So I let him tear you down to keep myself elevated. That makes me a coward. I know that. I sat back in my chair. At least you're honest about it. I want to make it right. I don't know how, but I want to try. You're my brother. I don't want this money thing to ruin that forever. The money thing? Derek, the money didn't ruin anything. It revealed what was already true. You and the family valued me based on my net worth. Now my net worth is higher than yours. So suddenly I'm worth your time. That's not brotherhood. That's opportunism. So what do you want from me? Groveling, public apology? Me to tell Dad he's an asshole? I'll do it. Whatever you want. I don't want anything from you, I said quietly. That's the point. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need Dad's approval. I don't need the family's validation. I spent 15 years killing myself to earn something you all decided I wasn't worth giving. Now I have more money than I can spend in 10 lifetimes, and you know what? It didn't fix the hole. It didn't make me feel better. It just showed me how conditional your love always was. Derek stood up. I deserve that. All of it. But Jake, for what it's worth, I am proud of you. Not because you're a billionaire, because you proved everyone wrong. Because you did something I never had the guts to do. You took a risk. You bet on yourself when nobody else would. That's impressive, regardless of how much money you made. Thanks, I said. But I'm not ready to play happy family yet. I need time. I understand. Take all the time you need. But when you're ready, I'll be here. After Derek left, Claire came in. How'd it go? About how you'd expect. He apologized, said he was wrong, wants to make it right. You believe him? I believe he feels bad. I don't believe anything fundamental has changed. He's still the golden child. I'm still the one who had to prove myself. Money doesn't change that dynamic. So, what do you want to do about the rest of them? Your parents are getting aggressive. Your dad threatened to show up here if you didn't call him back. I thought about it. Set up a meeting, all of them. My parents, Derek, Vanessa. Conference room here next Friday at 10 a.m. Tell them if they want to talk. Those are the terms. My turf, my time, my rules. You got it, boss. That week, I did something I should have done years ago. I hired a therapist, Dr. Amanda Robbins, who specialized in family dysfunction and sudden wealth. Our first session, she asked me what I wanted to get out of therapy. I want to stop caring what my family thinks of me. I want to be free of needing their approval. But I also don't want to become the bitter billionaire who cuts everyone off. I want to figure out what healthy boundaries look like. That's very self-aware, Dr. Robbins said. Tell me about your relationship with your father. I told her everything. The Thanksgiving dinner, the conditional college funding, the constant comparisons to Derek, the dismissal of my career, the New Year's Eve uninvitation. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, Jake, your father views relationships as transactional. You're not his son. You're an investment. And when he thought you were a bad investment, he divested. Now that you're a good investment, he wants back in. Do you see the pattern? Yeah. I've been living it my whole life. The question is, what do you want? Not what he wants. Not what society says you should want. What do you actually want from this relationship? I thought about it for a long time. I want him to admit he was wrong. Not just about the New Year's thing, about everything. The college funding, the constant criticism, the favoritism. I want him to acknowledge that he damaged me. And I want him to mean it. And if he doesn't, if he's incapable of that level of self-reflection, then I want to be okay with walking away. I want to be free. That's a good goal. Let's work toward that. The meeting with my family was scheduled for Friday. I spent the week preparing, not just mentally, but strategically. I had my lawyers draw up documents. I had my financial advisors run numbers. Because if my family was going to treat this like a transaction, then I would too. Friday came. They all showed up at 10 a.m. sharp, dressed like they were going to court. My father in his best suit, my mother in pearls. Derek and Vanessa looking nervous. They sat in the conference room, and I stood at the head of the table. For the first time in my life, I was in the position of power. "Thank you all for coming," I said. "I'm sure you're wondering why I called this meeting." My father tried to smile. "Son, we're just happy to finally see you. We've been so worried. This whole IPO thing happened so fast, and we wanted to make sure you're okay." "I'm fine, Dad. Better than fine, actually. But let's not pretend this is about my well-being. You didn't call me for 2 years before the IPO. You uninvited me from New Year's Eve because I was embarrassing. Now I'm a billionaire, and suddenly you're worried about me. Let's be honest about what this really is." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Jake, honey, that's not fair. We've always loved you." "Have you? Because love isn't conditional on net worth. Love doesn't uninvite you from family celebrations because your car isn't new enough." My father's jaw tightened. "We made a mistake with New Year's Eve. We admit that. But you're blowing this out of proportion. Every family has disagreements." "This wasn't a disagreement, Dad. This was you telling me I wasn't good enough to be seen with, that I was an embarrassment, that I should stay away until I had something worth bragging about. Do you remember saying that?" "I was trying to motivate you," he said defensively. "I was trying to push you to be better. By telling me I was a failure? By comparing me to Derek constantly? By refusing to fund my education unless I gave up on my dreams? That's not motivation. That's abuse." Vanessa spoke up. "Jake, we all said things we didn't mean. But we're family. Can't we move past this?" "That depends. Are you here because you want a relationship with me or because you want a relationship with my money?" The table went silent. Finally, Derek spoke. "Both, probably. I can admit that. Is that what you want to hear?" I nodded. "At least you're honest. Here's what's going to happen. I've created a trust fund for each of you. $5 million each. Dad, Mom, Derek, Vanessa. It's yours. No strings attached. Consider it my way of saying, I don't need anything from you anymore. Not approval, not validation, not a relationship. You're financially set, and I'm free." My mother gasped. "Jake, you can't just—" "I can, actually. I'm a billionaire. I can do whatever I want. And what I want is to stop feeling like I owe you something. So take the money, live your lives, and leave me alone." My father stood up, his face red. "You think you can buy your way out of this family? You think you can just write us a check and walk away? That's not how this works, son. I'm not your son anymore. I'm your financial bailout. There's a difference. And Dad, let me be clear. You don't get to lecture me about how family works. You taught me exactly how family works. It's transactional. It's conditional. It's about what you can get from each other. So I'm getting you off my conscience, and you're getting $5 million. Seems like a fair trade." "This is ridiculous," my father said. "You're being petty. I'm being free. There's a difference. And Dad, let me ask you something. If I had failed, if NexGen had gone bankrupt, if I'd lost everything and shown up at your door broke and desperate, would you have helped me?" He hesitated. That hesitation told me everything I needed to know. "I thought so," I said. "So take the money. It's more than you would have given me." My mother was crying openly now. "Jake, please don't do this. We made mistakes, but we're still your parents. Doesn't that mean anything? It means you gave birth to me and raised me, and I'm grateful for that. But it doesn't mean I have to accept being treated like a disappointment for the rest of my life. You had 31 years to see my value. You didn't. Now you don't get to benefit from it." Vanessa tried once more. "What about me?" I never said you were a failure. I never uninvited you from anything. No, but you never stood up for me either. You sat there at every family dinner while Dad compared me to Derek. You watched them uninvite me from New Year's and said nothing. Silence is still a choice, Vanessa. I pulled out the trust fund documents and slid them across the table. These are ready to sign. $5 million each, distributed over 10 years. It's more than you deserve. But I don't want to be the bitter billionaire who cuts off his family with nothing. I want to be the man who gave them more than they gave him and walked away with his head high. My father looked at the documents, then at me. If we sign these, that's it. We're done. That's it. No more calls, no more guilt trips, no more showing up at my office. You take the money and we go our separate ways. And if we don't sign, then you get nothing and we still go our separate ways. Either way, I'm done. They sat there for a long moment, processing. Then, one by one, they signed. My father signed first, his hand shaking slightly. My mother signed while crying. Derek signed without looking at me. Vanessa signed and whispered, "I'm sorry it came to this." "Me too," I said. After they left, Claire came in. "That was intense. That was necessary. How do you feel?" I sat down, suddenly exhausted. Free, sad, relieved, angry. All of it at once. That's normal. You just ended your relationship with your family. That's huge. They ended it first. I just made it official. Over the next 3 months, I didn't hear from any of them. They took their money and disappeared from my life. I threw myself into work, into building NexGen AI, into something even bigger. I bought a house in the Hamptons, not because I needed to prove anything, but because I wanted space and quiet. I dated occasionally, though every relationship felt complicated by the money. Women either wanted me for the billions or were intimidated by them. 6 months after the IPO, Forbes ran their cover story on me. The billionaire who walked away, Jake Harrison's story of family, success, and freedom. The article detailed everything. My father's refusal to fund my education, the New Year's Eve uninvitation, the IPO timing, the trust funds I gave my family before cutting them off. The article painted me as both generous and ruthless. Harrison gave his family millions, then gave them the door, the writer said. It's unclear which was crueler. The article went viral. Social media exploded with opinions. Half the people said I was justified, that my family was toxic and I was right to walk away. The other half said I was ungrateful, that families forever, that I should have forgiven them. I didn't care about either side. I had made my choice, and I was living with it. Then, 7 months after the IPO, I got a call that changed everything. It was from a hospital in Connecticut. My father had a heart attack. He was in the ICU. He was asking for me. I sat in my home office, staring at my phone, the hospital's number still on the screen. My father was in the ICU. He wanted to see me. After everything, after I'd paid them off and walked away, he wanted me at his bedside. Claire knocked on the door. I heard, "Are you going?" "I don't know." "What would you regret more, going or not going?" I thought about it. Not going, probably. Even after everything, he's still my father. If he dies and I didn't show up, I'll carry that forever. Then go. But Jake, go for you, not for him. Go so you can live with yourself, not because you owe him anything. I drove to Connecticut, my new Tesla quiet on the highway. It felt strange being back in this area, heading toward my parents' estate. I hadn't been there since before the IPO. Since the New Year's Eve, that changed everything. The hospital was small, sterile, the fluorescent lights making everything look washed out. I found my mother in the waiting room. She looked older than I remembered, more fragile. "Jake, you came." Her voice was small, uncertain. "How is he?" "Stable. They're doing tests. The doctors think he'll recover, but they're not sure how much damage was done to his heart." She reached for my hand. I let her take it, but I didn't squeeze back. "Jake, I know things between us are complicated, but thank you for coming. Your father, he's been different since the trust fund. Since you left." "Different how?" "Quieter, sadder. He looks at the money in the account, and instead of being happy, he just seems empty. I think he realizes what it cost him. It cost him a son. That's what it cost him. Derek and Vanessa showed up 30 minutes later. They nodded at me awkwardly. We all sat in the waiting room, not quite family, not quite strangers, something uncomfortable in between. A doctor came out. Family of Thomas Harrison? We all stood. He's stable. The heart attack was significant, but he's going to recover. He's asking to see all of you, but he wants to see Jake first. They all looked at me. I followed the doctor down the sterile hallway, past rooms with beeping machines and sick people, until we reached my father's room. He was in the bed, hooked up to IVs and monitors, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. His face was gray. His hands were shaking. He looked old. Jake, you came. I came. He gestured weakly to the chair beside his bed. I sat down, keeping distance between us. The doctors say I'm lucky. That I could have died. That I should have died, given how bad it was. But I'm still here. For now. I'm glad you're okay. Are you? After everything I did to you, would you really care if I died? I was quiet for a moment. Yeah, I would. You're a terrible father, but you're still my father. I'm not capable of wanting you dead. He laughed, a weak sound. A terrible father. That's accurate. Jake, I need to tell you something. I need to say it before anything else happens. Before I run out of time, I was wrong about everything, about you, about your career, about what matters. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. You're sorry because you had a heart attack, or you're sorry because you finally see the truth. Both. The heart attack gave me clarity. Lying there thinking I was dying, you know what I thought about? Not my career, not my money, not the estate or the investments. I thought about you, about that Thanksgiving when you were 16, and I told you computer science was a waste, about refusing to fund MIT, about comparing you to Derek constantly, about New Year's Eve, about every moment I made you feel like you weren't enough. He started crying, tears running down his gray face. I was jealous of you, Jake. Even when you had nothing, you had something I never had. You had passion. You knew what you wanted, and you were willing to risk everything for it. I spent my whole life playing it safe, building a comfortable life, and I resented that you had the courage I never did. So I tried to break you. I tried to make you as afraid as I was. And when you succeeded anyway, when you became a billionaire, I realized I had destroyed my relationship with my son for nothing. For ego, for pride, for stupid, meaningless pride. I sat there listening to the beeping of the machines, processing his words. You know what the worst part was, Dad? Not the lack of money, not the comparisons to Derek. The worst part was that I spent 15 years thinking I wasn't good enough. That voice in my head telling me I'd fail, that I wasn't smart enough, that I was wasting my time. That was your voice. You planted that in me, and even now, even with billions of dollars, even with all the success, I still hear it. I know, and I'm so sorry. Jake, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to let me back into your life. I just need you to know that you were always good enough. You were always more than enough. And I was too blind and too scared to see it. That's on me, not you. Me. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm 67 years old. I just had a heart attack. I might have 10 years left, or I might have 10 months, I don't know. But whatever time I have, I don't want to spend it carrying this guilt. I don't want to die knowing I never told you the truth. I looked at this man, my father, lying in a hospital bed, finally admitting what I'd needed to hear my entire life. And I felt nothing. No surge of relief. No sudden healing. Just emptiness. I appreciate you saying this, Dad. I do. But I don't know if it changes anything. You can't give me back those 15 years. You can't undo the damage. You can't make me unhear all the things you said. I know. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm just asking you to know the truth. You were always worthy. I was always wrong. A nurse came in to check his vitals. I stood up. I should let you rest. Jake, wait. One more thing. The trust fund. The $5 million. I haven't touched it. Neither has your mother. We don't want it. We want you back. Please. I don't have much time left, and I don't want to spend it estranged from my son. I looked at him for a long moment. I'll think about it. I walked out of the room and found my family in the waiting room. Derek stood up. How is he? He's fine. Emotional. He apologized. My mother grabbed my arm. Jake, does this mean you'll come back to us? Does this mean we can be a family again? I gently pulled my arm away. I don't know, Mom. I need time to think. Over the next 2 weeks, my father recovered. He came home from the hospital with a new medication regimen and orders to reduce stress. My mother called me daily with updates. Derek sent me texts about how Dad was different now, softer, more reflective. Vanessa forwarded me an email Dad had written to her about regret and second chances. They all wanted the same thing, for me to absolve him, to say it was okay, to go back to being a family. Dr. Robbins helped me process it all. Do you believe his apology was genuine? She asked. Yeah, I think it was. He was dying, or thought he was dying, and he had clarity. That feels real. So what's stopping you from reconciling? I don't know if I trust it to last. What happens when he's fully recovered and falls back into old patterns? What happens when he's no longer scared of dying? Will he go back to being the man who uninvited me from New Year's Eve? Maybe. People can change, but it's rare, especially at his age. You have to decide if you're willing to risk getting hurt again for the possibility of a real relationship. I thought about it for days. Then I came up with a plan. If my family wanted back into my life, they would have to earn it. Not with money, with action, with proof that things were actually different. I called a family meeting. Same conference room at NexGen. Same setup. But this time, I was offering something different. I've thought about Dad's apology, I said, and I believe it was genuine. But words aren't enough. If we're going to rebuild this family, it has to be different. It has to be real. So, here are my conditions. My father, still looking weak from the heart attack, leaned forward. Whatever you want, we'll do it. First, family therapy. All of us. Weekly sessions with a professional therapist who specializes in family dysfunction. We work through all of it. The favoritism, the conditional love, the damage, everything. Done, my mother said immediately. Second, no more transactional relationships. No asking me for money, no asking me for favors or connections or anything that has to do with my wealth. If we're going to have a relationship, it's because you want me, not what I can provide. Agreed, Derek said. Third, accountability. When someone falls back into old patterns, when Dad starts comparing me to Derek, when Mom starts guilt tripping, when anyone crosses a boundary, it gets called out immediately. No more sweeping things under the rug. Fair, Vanessa said. And finally, time. This doesn't get fixed in a month or a year. This is a long process. And I reserve the right to walk away at any point if I feel like it's not working. You hurt me for 15 years. You don't get to fix that in 15 weeks. My father nodded slowly. Those are reasonable terms. We'll do it. All of it. Jake, I just want my son back. Whatever it takes. Then we start next week. Dr. Robbins has agreed to take us on as clients. Be prepared. It's going to be uncomfortable. They all agreed. We scheduled the first session for the following Thursday. As they were leaving, Derek pulled me aside. Thank you for giving us another chance. I know we don't deserve it. You're right, you don't. But I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because I don't want to be the guy who walks away from his family without at least trying. If it doesn't work, at least I'll know I gave it a real shot. That's fair. Jake, for what it's worth, I've spent the last 7 months thinking about what you said, about how I benefited from Dad's favoritism and never stood up for you. You were right. I was a coward. I'm going to do better. We'll see, I said. Not unkindly, but not with full belief either. The first therapy session was brutal. Dr. Robbins didn't let anyone hide. She made my father recount every instance of favoritism he could remember. She made my mother admit to using guilt as a weapon. She made Derek acknowledge his complicity. She made Vanessa face her silence. And she made me admit something I hadn't wanted to face. Jake, you're angry, and you have every right to be. But you're also holding on to that anger like a shield. As long as you're angry, you don't have to be vulnerable. You don't have to risk getting hurt again. Is that what you want? To be protected but alone? I don't know what I want, I admitted. Then, let's figure it out together. Over the next 6 months, we went to therapy every week. Slowly, painfully, things started to shift. My father stopped talking about money and started asking about my life. My mother stopped guilt tripping and started listening. Derek stopped comparing our careers and started treating me like a brother. Vanessa stopped being silent and started calling out bad behavior when she saw it. It wasn't perfect. There were backslides, there were arguments, there were sessions where I walked out because someone said something that triggered the old hurt. But they kept showing up. Every week, every session, they kept showing up. And slowly, I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, they actually wanted to change. Not because I was a billionaire, not because they needed something from me, but because they genuinely regretted what they'd lost and were willing to work to get it back. 8 months after my father's heart attack, we had our first family dinner. Not at their estate, at my house in the Hamptons. Casual, low-key. My mother brought a dish she'd cooked. My father brought a bottle of wine. Derek and Vanessa brought their families, and I got to meet my nephew and niece properly for the first time. We sat around the table, and for the first time in my life, it felt like a real family. No comparisons, no judgment, no transactional energy, just people who were trying. After dinner, my father asked if he could talk to me privately. We walked out onto the deck overlooking the ocean. This is a beautiful place, Jake. Thanks. I like the quiet. I need to tell you something. The trust fund. Your mother and I have decided to donate it, all $5 million, to a scholarship fund for kids studying computer science who can't afford college. Kids like you were. We're calling it the Jake Harrison Scholarship Fund. I felt tears prick my eyes. Dad, you don't have to do that. Yes, we do. We can't give you back the MIT tuition we should have paid, but we can make sure other kids don't face the same obstacle. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. But it's something. That means a lot. You mean a lot, son. I'm sorry it took me 67 years and a heart attack to figure that out. We stood there watching the waves, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I had a father who actually saw me. Not my net worth. Not my success. Just me. This right here. This is the moment that makes your blood boil and then breaks your heart. We have all met people who only value you when you're valuable to them. People who dismiss your dreams and then want credit when you succeed. It is the ultimate form of conditional love. If you have ever had to prove your worth to family members who should have seen it all along, I need you to hit that like button right now. Let's show them that we see through the performance. And in the comments, I want you to type one word, worthy. Let's claim it. 1 year after the IPO, NexGen AI stock hit $180 per share. My net worth crossed $7 billion, and I was now the 312th richest person in the world. The media was obsessed with my story. From uninvited to unstoppable. The billionaire they didn't want at dinner. Every interview, every article, every profile mentioned the New Year's Eve incident. My family hated it. Not because it made them look bad, though it did, but because it kept the wound open, kept reminding everyone of their failure. Derek called me one Tuesday afternoon. Jake, we need to talk. It's about the media coverage. What about it? Every article mentions New Year's Eve. Every interview you do, they ask about it. It's making Dad miserable. The heart attack, the therapy, he's really trying. But every time a new article comes out calling him the father who uninvited his billionaire son, it destroys him. Can you please stop talking about it? I was quiet for a moment. Derek, I haven't brought it up in months. The reporters asked because it's a good story. It's compelling. The underdog who gets rejected by his family hours before becoming a billionaire. That's narrative gold. I can't control what they ask. But you can control what you answer. You could say, no comment. You could redirect. You could protect us. Why should I protect you? You didn't protect me. Because we're trying, Jake. We're in therapy. We're changing. Dad donated the trust fund to that scholarship. Mom volunteers at a coding camp for underprivileged kids. We're doing the work. But every article that comes out makes it harder. People recognize Dad at restaurants and give him dirty looks. Mom gets comments on her Facebook posts from strangers. calling her a terrible mother. Vanessa's kids are getting bullied at school because their grandfather is that guy from the article. I felt a pang of guilt. I didn't know about Vanessa's kids. Yeah, well, it's bad. Jake, I'm not asking you to lie or to say everything is perfect. I'm just asking you to maybe let it go. Stop feeding the narrative. Let us move on. I thought about it. I'll think about it. That weekend, I had an interview scheduled with CNN for a piece about young billionaires in tech. The reporter, a sharp woman named Sandra Mills, asked the inevitable question 20 minutes in. Jake, everyone wants to know about the New Year's Eve story. Is it true your family uninvited you hours before your IPO? I could have said no comment. I could have redirected. Instead, I told the truth. Yes, it's true. My family uninvited me from their New Year's Eve celebration because they felt I was unsuccessful and embarrassing. Less than 24 hours later, I became a billionaire. The timing was unfortunate for them. How did that make you feel? Initially, vindicated. Like I had proven everyone wrong. But over time, it's made me sad. Because my family's love was so conditional that they were willing to cut me out based on my bank account. That says something troubling about how we value people in this society. Have you reconciled with them? We're in therapy. We're trying to rebuild. But some wounds don't heal completely. You learn to live with the scars. The interview aired 2 days later. It went viral. Again. My father called me, his voice strained. Jake, you promised you'd stop talking about this. I never promised that. Derek asked. I said I'd think about it. You're destroying us. Every time you bring this up, we get attacked. Your mother's getting death threats on social media. Death threats, Jake. People are calling her evil. People are saying she doesn't deserve to live. Is that what you want? I felt sick. Of course not. Mom's getting death threats. Yes, because you keep painting us as monsters. We made a mistake, Jake. One mistake. And you're making sure the entire world knows about it forever. That's not fair. That's cruel. You know what's cruel, Dad? Being told you're not good enough to be at your family's celebration. Being compared to your brother for 15 years. Being refused college funding because your dreams didn't align with your father's idea of success. That's cruel. Me telling the truth about what happened. That's just honesty. Honesty that's ruining our lives. Your lives are fine. You have millions of dollars, a nice house, health insurance, security. You're not ruined. You're just uncomfortable. There's a difference. Jake, please, I'm begging you. Stop talking about it. If you ever loved us, if this family ever meant anything to you, stop. I hung up and called Dr. Robbins. Emergency session. She fit me in that evening. What happened? She asked. I told her everything. The CNN interview, my father's call, my mother's death threats, Derek's guilt trip, all of it. I don't know what to do, I admitted. Part of me thinks I should stop, that I'm being petty, that I'm punishing them unnecessarily. But another part of me thinks they're just mad they're being held accountable, that they want me to sweep it under the rug so they can be comfortable again. What do you think the truth is? Probably both. They are being held accountable, and they don't like it. But Mom shouldn't be getting death threats. Vanessa's kids shouldn't be getting bullied. There are real consequences to me continuing to tell this story, and those consequences are hurting people I'm trying to have a relationship with. So, what do you want to do? I thought about it for a long time. I want to tell the story one last time, completely, honestly, all of it. The pain they caused, the healing we're doing, the complexity of it all. And then I want to stop. I want to close this chapter and move forward. That sounds healthy. How will you do it? I'll write it myself. An essay, something I control completely. I'll tell the whole story, and then I'll be done. I spent 2 weeks writing it, 5,000 words. The Thanksgiving dinner when I was 16, the MIT rejection, the comparisons to Derek, the New Year's Eve uninvitation, the IPO, the trust funds, my father's heart attack, the therapy, the slow, painful rebuilding. I didn't spare myself either. I wrote about my anger, my vindictiveness, my struggle to forgive. I wrote about how money solved some problems but created others. I wrote about what it's like to be a billionaire who doesn't feel like $1 billion inside. I published it on Medium under the title, What My Family's Rejection Taught Me About Success, Money, and Love. It went viral immediately. Within 24 hours, it had 10 million views. Within a week, it was being discussed on talk shows, podcasts, and news programs. But this time, the response was different. People weren't just attacking my family, they were engaging with the complexity. They were talking about their own families, their own conditional relationships, their own struggles with approval and validation. My father called after he read it. "Jake, I just finished your essay. And? And it's the most painful thing I've ever read, but it's also fair. You didn't just attack us. You examined yourself too. You showed the whole picture. Thank you for that." "You're welcome. I need you to know something. I read the part about the Thanksgiving dinner, about how you looked at yourself in the mirror and told yourself you'd prove me wrong. Jake, you did. You proved me wrong about everything. And I'm so proud of you. Not because you're a billionaire, because you're the man you became despite me." I felt tears on my face. "Thanks, Dad. I love you, son. I should have said it more. I should have shown it better. But I love you. I love you too, Dad." After that essay, I stopped talking about New Year's Eve in interviews. When reporters asked, I said, "I've told that story. It's public. I don't have anything to add. Let's talk about what we're building now, not what happened then." The media moved on. My family got their privacy back. The death threats stopped. Vanessa's kids stopped getting bullied. We continued therapy. We continued showing up for each other. Slowly, we became something that actually resembled a family. 2 years after the IPO, Derek quit Goldman Sachs. He called me nervous. "I'm done with finance. I hate it. I've always hated it. I only did it because Dad wanted me to." "What do you want to do?" "I want to teach high school math. I know it sounds crazy. I'd be taking a massive pay cut. But Jake, I'm miserable. I'm making all this money and I'm dying inside." "Then do it. Teach. Be happy. You don't think it's stupid, throwing away a Wall Street career?" "Derek, I walked away from a stable job to join a startup everyone said would fail. I'm the last person who'd judge you for following your passion. Do it." He did. He became a math teacher at a public high school in Brooklyn. He took home $65,000 a year, and he was happier than I'd ever seen him. My father's reaction was telling. He didn't criticize. He didn't compare Derek to anyone. He said, "I'm proud of you, son. You're brave." That was growth, real growth. 3 years after the IPO, my mother started a foundation, the Harrison Family Foundation, dedicated to funding STEM education for underprivileged kids. She asked if I wanted to be involved. "Only if it's genuine," I said. "Only if you're doing this because you care, not because you want good PR. I'm doing it because I have grandkids now, Derek's kids, and I want them to grow up in a world where every child gets a fair shot at their dreams, not just the ones whose parents can afford to give it to them." "Then yes, I'll help." I donated $50 million to seed the foundation, not as Jake Harrison, billionaire, as Jake Harrison's son, trying to build something good with his family. The foundation grew. In its first year, it gave scholarships to 500 students. By year 3, it had helped 2,000 kids attend college who otherwise couldn't afford it. Kids like me, who had the brains and the drive, but not the financial backing. One day, my mother and I were reviewing scholarship applications together. She stopped on one. "Jake, look at this one. This girl, Sarah. She wants to study artificial intelligence at MIT. Her father told her it's a waste, that she should study business instead. But she's applying anyway, with no family support." I read the application. It could have been written by me at 16. "Give her the full ride," they said, "all 4 years. Full tuition, room and board, stipend for living expenses. That's $300,000. I know. Give it to her. I want her to have what I didn't." My mother smiled, tears in her eyes. You're a good man, Jake. Better than we deserved. I'm trying to be. That's all any of us can do. 4 years after the IPO, my father was declared cancer-free. He had been diagnosed with prostate cancer 6 months earlier, caught it early, got treatment. It was a scare, but he survived. The night he got the all clear from his oncologist, we had a family dinner. All of us. Derek with his wife and kids, Vanessa with her husband and kids, my parents, me. We sat around the table at my house in the Hamptons, and my father stood up to give a toast. I want to say something. 4 years ago, I had a heart attack that almost killed me. Today, I got cleared from cancer. I've been given 2 second chances at life, and I want to use them right. I want to spend whatever time I have left being the father I should have been all along. Jake, Derek, Vanessa, I love you, all of you, equally. Not based on your careers or your bank accounts or your achievements, just because you're my kids. I'm sorry it took me so long to figure that out. We all cried, even Derek, who never cried. We sat around that table, this broken family that was slowly putting itself back together, and we laughed and told stories and existed as people who genuinely liked each other. Not because we had to, not because of obligation, because we wanted to. That night after everyone left, I stood on my deck looking at the ocean. I thought about the 31-year-old version of me, sitting in a studio apartment eating Chinese food, getting uninvited from New Year's Eve. I thought about how angry I was, how hurt, how determined to prove them all wrong. I had proven them wrong. I had become a billionaire. I had made Forbes covers and TechCrunch headlines. I had built something extraordinary. But the real victory wasn't the money. The real victory was standing on this deck, having just had dinner with a family that actually loved me. Not for what I could give them, not for my success, just for being me. That was worth more than $7 billion. That was priceless. 5 years after the IPO, I got invited to speak at MIT's graduation. The same school my father refused to fund. The same school where I had to take out loans and work part-time to afford. I was asked to give the commencement address to the class of 2028. My entire family came to watch. My parents, Derek with his family, Vanessa with hers. They sat in the audience while I stood on that stage, looking at thousands of graduates and their families. I started with a story. 15 years ago, I sat where you're sitting now. I had just graduated with $85,000 in student debt. My father had refused to help pay for my education because he didn't think computer science was a real career. He thought I was wasting my life on a dream that would never materialize. And honestly, there were days when I believed him. Days when I thought maybe he was right. Maybe I wasn't smart enough. Maybe I was throwing my life away. I saw my father in the audience, tears already streaming down his face. But I kept going. Not because I was confident, because I was stubborn. Because something in me refused to accept that my worth was determined by someone else's belief in me. And 5 years ago, that stubbornness paid off when the company I helped build went public, making me a billionaire overnight. The crowd murmured. They knew this story. But here's what I didn't expect. I thought becoming a billionaire would fix everything. I thought it would prove my worth, heal my wounds, make me feel complete. It didn't. The money solved external problems, bills, housing, security, but it didn't solve the internal ones. I still heard my father's voice in my head, telling me I wasn't good enough. I still struggled with feeling like I had to prove myself constantly. The billions in my bank account didn't silence those voices. I paused, looking directly at my father. What did silence them was something much harder than making money. Forgiveness. Not the kind of forgiveness where you pretend the hurt never happened, but the kind where you acknowledge the pain, set boundaries, demand accountability, and slowly, painfully rebuild trust with people who broke it. My father and I spent 3 years in therapy. 3 years of hard conversations, tears, setbacks, and breakthroughs. And today, he's here watching me give this speech. Not because he has to be, not because I'm successful, but because we chose to do the work to become a real family. My father stood up in the audience. People around him looked confused. He raised his hand and I nodded. Go ahead, Dad. His voice shook. I just want to say, in front of all these people, in front of your classmates and their families, that I was wrong. I was wrong about you. I was wrong about what matters. I was wrong about everything. And Jake, you didn't just become a billionaire. You became a man who was big enough to forgive someone who didn't deserve it. That's the real achievement. And I'm so, so proud of you. The audience applauded. Some people were crying. I waited for the noise to settle, then continued. Graduates, here's what I want you to take from my story. You're going to face people who doubt you. Maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your teachers, your friends, your partners. People who tell you your dreams are too big, your goals are unrealistic, your ambitions are naive. And some days, you're going to believe them. Some days, the doubt is going to feel overwhelming. But I need you to understand something. Your worth is not determined by other people's ability to see it. You don't need permission to be extraordinary. You don't need validation to pursue your passion. You don't need approval to bet on yourself. The only person who needs to believe in you is you. And when you succeed, not if, but when, you get to choose what that success means. Does it mean revenge? Does it mean vindication? Does it mean building walls to protect yourself from ever being hurt again? Or does it mean something bigger? Does it mean using your success to create opportunities for others? Does it mean having the strength to forgive people who hurt you if they do the work to change? Does it mean becoming someone who lifts others up instead of stepping on them to climb higher? That's your choice, and it's the most important choice you'll make. I looked at my family again. 5 years ago, my family rejected me hours before I became a billionaire. Today, they're here celebrating with me. Not because the money brought us back together, but because we all chose to be better. We chose accountability over comfort. We chose growth over ego. We chose love over pride. And that choice, that daily choice to show up and do the work, that's worth more than any IPO. That's the real wealth. The graduates stood and applauded. I finished the speech, posed for photos, shook hands with administrators. When I finally made it off stage, my mother grabbed me and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. That was beautiful, Jake. Thank you for including us in your story. Thank you for giving us the chance to be part of your journey. Thanks for showing up, Mom. Every week for 3 years, you showed up to therapy. That meant everything. My father approached slowly. Son, can we talk? We walked away from the crowd, found a quiet spot under a tree on MIT's campus. What's on your mind, Dad? I've been thinking about something. The scholarship fund we created, the Jake Harrison Scholarship Fund, it's helped a lot of kids, but I want to do more. I want to use my money, the $5 million from the trust fund that I donated, and match it. $10 million total. I want to endow it permanently so it keeps helping kids even after I'm gone. Dad, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. Jake, you said in your speech that forgiveness is about accountability and change. Well, I want to prove I've changed. I want my legacy to be fixing the exact thing I did wrong. I want kids who get dismissed by their parents to still have a shot at their dreams. Because of what I do now. Not in spite of it. I felt tears in my eyes. That would be amazing, Dad. Truly. There's one more thing. I want you to know that if I could go back, if I could redo those 15 years, I would. I would fund your MIT education. I would celebrate your achievements. I would tell you every single day that you were brilliant and worthy and capable. I would be the father you deserved. I can't go back, but I can go forward differently, and I will. Every day for the rest of my life, I will. We hugged, this broken man who destroyed me and this successful son who found a way to forgive him. It wasn't a Hollywood ending. The wounds were still there. The scars were still visible. But we were healing. That was enough. That night, my family came to my house for dinner. We cooked together, all of us in the kitchen chopping vegetables and laughing at Derek's terrible cooking skills. My nephew, Derek's oldest son, who was 7, asked me a question. Uncle Jake, Is it true you're a billionaire? It's true. What does that mean? I thought about how to explain it to a 7-year-old. It means I have more money than I could ever spend, more than I need, more than most people will ever see in their lives. Wow, that's so cool. What are you going to do with it all? I looked at Derek, who was watching this conversation carefully. I'm going to help people who need help. I'm going to fund scholarships for kids who want to go to college. I'm going to invest in companies that are trying to solve big problems. And I'm going to make sure my family's taken care of. That's nice. Uncle Jake? Yeah, buddy? My dad says you used to be poor, like us. Is that true? Derek interjected quickly. We're not poor, son. We're just not billionaires. But I knelt down to my nephew's level. Your dad's right. I used to live in a tiny apartment and drive an old car and worry about money all the time, just like lots of people do. Being rich now doesn't make me better than I was then. It just means I have different problems and different opportunities. Grandpa says he was mean to you when you were younger. I looked at my father, who was watching from across the kitchen. He was. But he's trying to be better now, and that's what matters. People can change if they really want to. I think that's good. I like when people are nice to each other. Me too, buddy, me too. After dinner, we sat around the fire pit on my deck. My mother pulled out her phone and showed me something. Jake, look at this. It's the Harrison Family Foundation's 5-year report. We've helped 5,000 students attend college. 5,000 kids who might not have had a chance. Your donation started this. Your story inspired this. You changed thousands of lives. We changed them, I corrected. This is all of us, working together, using our resources for something good. Vanessa spoke up. Jake, I need to tell you something. I've been quiet about this, but I think you should know. When you first became a billionaire and gave us those trust funds, I was angry. I thought you were being cruel, paying us off to get rid of us. But over the years, watching you build the foundation, watching you forgive Dad, watching you use your wealth to help others, I realized something. You weren't being cruel. You were teaching us a lesson. What lesson? That love can't be bought. That family isn't about money. That if we wanted you back in our lives, we had to earn it with actions, not words. You were holding us accountable. And as much as it hurt at the time, it was exactly what we needed. I'm glad you see it that way now. At the time, I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing. You were, Derek said. You absolutely were. You drew a boundary and you stuck to it. You made us prove we were serious about change. Most people don't have the strength to do that. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, I sat alone on my deck. I pulled out my phone and looked at photos from 5 years ago. The tiny studio apartment, the old Honda Civic, the screenshot of my bank account the day before the IPO, when I had $3,247 to my name. I looked at the man in those photos, stressed and struggling and doubting himself, and I felt proud of him. Not proud of becoming a billionaire. Proud of surviving. Proud of refusing to give up. Proud of building something meaningful from nothing. That man deserved credit for everything that came after. I pulled up my text messages and wrote one to my father. Dad, thank you for coming to MIT today. Thank you for standing up and saying what you said. Thank you for 3 years of therapy and showing up even when it was hard. Thank you for becoming the father I needed, even if it came later than I wished. I love you, he wrote back immediately. I love you too, son. More than I know how to say. You're the best thing I ever made, and it took me too long to see it. I won't waste any more time, I promise. I smiled and put my phone away. The ocean was calm tonight, the stars bright overhead. 5 years ago, I sat in a studio apartment, getting uninvited from New Year's Eve because I wasn't successful enough. Tonight, I sat in a house I owned on the beach, having just given the commencement address at MIT, with a family that actually loved me. The journey from there to here had been painful, full of anger, resentment, hurt, and hard conversations. But I would do it all again. Because the man I became through that struggle was someone I was proud to be. Not because he was rich, because he was resilient, because he learned to forgive without forgetting, because he turned his pain into purpose. 6 years after the IPO, on New Year's Eve, I hosted a party at my house. My parents came. Derek and his family came. Vanessa and her family came. Friends, colleagues, people I had met along the way. We counted down to midnight together, popping champagne, hugging, celebrating not just a new year, but a new chapter. At 12:01 a.m., my father found me on the deck. Jake, do you remember New Year's Eve 6 years ago? Every detail, Dad. I wish I could take it back. I wish I could erase that night from history. I don't, I said, his eyes widened. You don't? No, because that night changed everything. It hurt like hell, but it forced me to stop seeking your approval and start valuing myself. It pushed me to build something extraordinary, and eventually it led to us actually fixing our relationship instead of pretending it was fine. That night was awful, but it was necessary. I never thought about it that way. Besides, I said, smiling, if you hadn't uninvited me that night, I wouldn't have this incredible story. The billionaire who got rejected by his family hours before his IPO. That story has opened doors, created opportunities, and helped me connect with thousands of people who felt like failures too. So, in a weird way, thank you. Thank you for being terrible enough that it forced me to become extraordinary. My father laughed, tears in his eyes. Only you could turn the worst night of my life into a lesson. That's what we do, Dad. We take the pain and we turn it into something meaningful. That's how we survive. We stood there watching the fireworks light up the sky over the ocean, father and son, finally at peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because we had both chosen to do the work to make it better. I am Jake Harrison, 36 years old. I am a man who was told he wasn't good enough and became a billionaire anyway. I am a man who was uninvited from his family's celebration and built a family worth celebrating. I am a man who learned that success isn't measured in bank accounts, but in the strength to forgive people who hurt you and the wisdom to protect yourself from those who won't change. I forgive myself for spending 15 years seeking approval from people who couldn't give it. I forgive myself for the anger I carried, the revenge fantasies I entertained, the years I spent bitter instead of building. I forgive myself for taking so long to understand that their failure to see my worth was never about me. It was always about them. I am archived from that old life where my value was determined by someone else's opinion. I exist in a new one where I define success on my own terms, where family is chosen through consistent action, not demanded through blood, where wealth is measured not just in dollars, but in relationships rebuilt, boundaries established, and second chances given to people who earn them. And I am finally completely at peace with being exactly who I became. Not who my father wanted me to be. Not who society expected me to be. Just me, Jake, billionaire, son, brother. Man who proved that you can forgive without forgetting, that you can have boundaries and compassion, that you can be wealthy in ways that have nothing to do with money. I am done proving myself to people who were never going to believe in me anyway. I am done measuring my worth by external validation. I am done carrying the weight of other people's limitations. I am free. And freedom, I've learned, isn't about having billions of dollars. It's about knowing you would be enough even if you had nothing. It's about building relationships based on respect, not obligation. It's about waking up every day knowing that the person you see in the mirror is someone you're proud to be. That's real wealth. That's what I worked 5 years to achieve. And that, more than any IPO or Forbes cover or bank account balance, is what makes me truly, permanently, extraordinarily rich. This is Jake Harrison, signing off. Not as the billionaire who got uninvited from New Year's Eve, not as the man who proved his family wrong, just as myself, son who forgave, brother who rebuilt, man who learned that the opposite of bitterness isn't forgiveness. It's choosing to build something beautiful from the ashes of what burned you down. And I am, at last, at peace. Hosting that New Year's Eve party, 6 years after being uninvited, was the hardest thing I ever did. Harder than building a billion-dollar company. Harder than forgiving my father. Harder than standing on that MIT stage. But sometimes, you have to create the celebration you were denied with the family you rebuilt to prove that you survived. If my story resonated with you, if you are currently fighting to prove your worth to people who should see it, I want you to know you are cleared for takeoff. Please hit that like button if you believe in becoming extraordinary, not to prove others wrong, but to prove yourself right. And make sure to subscribe to the channel so we can keep sharing stories of resilience together. In the comments below, tell me, have you ever had to choose between cutting off toxic family forever or giving them one more chance after they did the work? I'll be reading your stories. This is Jake Harrison, signing off. My family banned me from New Year's Eve. Then Dad saw I became a billionaire overnight.